Connecting Spring Boot with Keycloak is easy. Building it in a way you truly understand, control, and can scale in real project is what most tutorials skip. In this video, I'll show you how to properly secure your Spring Boot application using Keycloak. Not with surface level setup, but with complete OAuth2 authentication flow and real role-based access control. We'll customize the login UI, handle user sessions correctly, and lock down endpoints the same way production systems do. Here's a lot to cover. So grab a coffee, take your time, and let's build this the right way. Let's start by installing Keycloak. For installation, I am heading over to the official Keycloak website, keycloak.org. From here, click on Get Started. You'll see several options for installing Keycloak. I am going to use Docker, so I'll click on that to get started with Keycloak on Docker. Here is the command we need to run in the terminal to install and run Keycloak using Docker. By the way, you will need to have Docker installed on your computer. If it's not installed yet, just follow the setup guide on Docker's official website. Let me copy this Docker command. And now in the terminal, paste it. Now, before we execute it in the terminal, let me walk you through what this command actually does. We start with Docker run, which creates and launches a new container. Next, we have the -p flag. This P stands for port. This is how we expose a container port to our host machine. The port mapping has 3 parts separated by colons. Reading from left to right, we have this IP address 127.0.0.1, which is the IP address for our host machine, representing our local host. Next is 8080. This is the port number on our host machine. When we enter localhost 8080 in our browser, the request goes to port 8080 on our local machine, which then maps the Keycloak container. However, I am going to update this to 8090. That is because our Spring Boot application will run on port 8080. So, we can access Keycloak at localhost 8090 without any port conflicts. After the colon, we have another 8080. This is the port inside the Docker container where the Keycloak is actually running. Docker maps our host port to this container port. Next, we are setting up administrator credentials using environment variable. The -e flag stands for environment, and it allows us to set variable that the application inside the container can read and use for configuration. The first environment variable says the username for the admin user. I am setting it to admin. The next flag sets the password, which I am also setting to admin. You can update these credentials as you need it, but make sure you remember what you said. Otherwise, you won't be able to access Keycloak, and there's the expected behavior, right? In a production environment, of course, you will want to choose much stronger credentials. Now, I want to add a couple of additional properties. First, I'll set the name of our Docker container using the --name flag. Let's call it Keycloak server. After that, I will add the -d flag, which runs the Keycloak server in detached mode, meaning it runs in the background. Then we have the image URL. The Keycloak image is hosted at this URL, and we are using the version 26.4.1. Finally, this start-dev tells Keycloak to run in development mode, which enables features like HTTP support and automatic database setup that makes local testing much easier. Now, let's run this command. Press return if you are using Mac or enter if you are on PC. Docker is now downloading the Keycloak image and setting everything up for us. Let's wait for a couple of minutes. Perfect. Our Keycloak is started on Docker. Let's try to access it. Navigate to localhost 8090. So our Keycloak is running, and that's why we are seeing this login form here. Enter the username and password we set earlier and sign in. Okay, we are logged in successfully. This is the admin dashboard of Keycloak, where we can manage our realms, clients, and users. Here you see we have this warning message. It's simply telling us that we need to create a new admin user and delete the initial one we created using environment variables during installation. This is security best practice. So let's do this now. Navigate to users, and this is our admin user that we have created. Then go to role mapping tab here. Those two roles are assigned to this user. We'll also assign these same roles to our newly created user. Go back to users and click the add user button. Then here provide a username. Give first name and last name. I'm also going to toggle email verified to on. This is because I don't need to verify my email. Now click create. The user is created successfully. Now navigate to the credentials tab here. Here we will set the password. Turn off this temporary toggle. If it's turned on, it will require me to change the password on next login. I don't want to do that. And save. Save password. Now navigate to role mapping. Here default roles master is already assigned. Beside this, I'll also assign the admin role. So click on assign role, then realm roles, select this one, admin, and assign. Okay. We have created a new user, set the password, and assigned the necessary roles. Now let's log out of this admin account. Sign out. Now let's log in again with our newly created user and sign in. See, we don't have that warning anymore. Now what I'll do is create a new realm. So what is realm? Think of a realm as a completely isolated container. It's like having separate workspace for different projects or organizations. Everything inside that realm, your users, your applications, your security rules, they all stay within that boundary. There's a practical example. Let's say you are building a customer-facing portal and an internal employee system. You'd create two separate realms. Why? Because your customers should not have anything to do with your employee's account, right? Each realm keeps everything separate. The users, the login methods, the permissions all isolated. The key thing to remember is this: users in one realm can't just hop over to another realm's resource. They are completely walled off unless you specifically set up some kind of cross-realms trust. And that's pretty advanced. And we are not going to cover this in this tutorial. Okay, back to the dashboard here. In the Keycloak dashboard, it's showing that we are currently on the Keycloak realm. Now let's go to Manage Realm here. You see, actually we are currently on the Master Realm, and the display name of this Master Realm is set to Keycloak. This Master Realm is special realm that basically for managing other realms. You should not create any clients in this realm. This is just for the management. So I'll create a new realm. Click on Create Realm, and here give it a name. Let's say it's demo-realm. Keep it enabled and create. Now our new realm is created and we are automatically switched to this demo realm. Here you see our current realm is this demo realm that we have just created. And if you want to go back to this previous master realm, just click on this master. See, we have this master realm. Okay, now let's switch back to our demo realm. Go to manage realm, click on demo realm. Okay, our current realm is now this demo realm. Inside this demo realm, we'll create our client, users, and other stuff for our project. Now it's time to create our client. A client, basically any application that needs to authenticate users through Keycloak. Here, navigate to clients, then create client. Here, as a client type, we have these two options, OpenID Connect and SAML. We are going to use OpenID Connect. Then provide the client ID. I'll name it Demo App. I'd also like to give it a display name. So let's provide Demo App here. Then click Next. Now, first we have this client authentication. What is it? Let's check. Here, if you click on this question mark, you'll see this tooltip. It mentioned that when it's on, the type is confidential access, and when it's off, the type is public access. So what are they? Public clients are front-end application like web app, mobile app, or single-page applications. On the other hand, confidential clients are backend services, APIs, server application, and microservices that can securely store secret. Here, in this tutorial, we are going to focus on confidential clients. So, I will turn this on. For the authentication flow, it will be standard flow. Click Next. Here, we need to provide a couple of URLs. First one is our root URL. It will be http:// then localhost. Our application will run on port 8080. Make sure this URL is the URL that your application is running on. It may be your localhost or maybe a live server. Now, it's time to give it a home URL. This is the same as the root URL. And now, the valid redirect URI. This is the URI where we want to redirect Keycloak after successful login. I want to redirect it to our Spring Boot application. So the valid redirect URL is the root URL and everything after this URL which belongs to the root URL. So I am providing /star. Now for valid post logout redirect URIs, this is where we want to redirect the user after successful logout. So for now, let's say we want to redirect the user to the root URL. Then the web origin. These are the allowed origins to access our application. And for the moment, I'll give it to star. This means any web origin. Click Save. It's showing an error. Let's see what is the problem. Root URL is not valid URL. Okay. Here in this root URL, I may be provided 3T in this HTTP. Let's remove one. And I also need to fix other typos. Let's copy this root URL and fix the home URL. Correct the valid redirect URIs and also the logout URI. And now save. And our client is successfully created. You can see the overview of the client we just created. From here, we can change the properties of the client if we need. Now, for our client, we need client credentials. Go to this credentials tab. In client authenticator, make sure client ID and secret is selected. And here is the client secret that we will need for our application. Now for our application, I will assign each user a role. For the demo app, we'll have 3 roles: admin, manager, and user. So navigate to roles and now create role. The first one, I will name it admin. Then save. Back to the client details. and create another role. This one will be manager. Save. And another role. Create new role. This will be user. And save. So our 3 roles are created: admin, manager, and user. If we need to, we can assign associated roles with that. But for our project, I don't want to do that. These 3 roles will be specific to our client. Okay, and now we need users for our application. For that, navigate to users, then create new user. Here, give it a username. Let's say the user is Alice. Give her an email address, alice@demo.com. Give her a first name, Alice, and last name, maybe Smith. Toggle email verified to on and click create. Our user is created successfully, and you can see the unique ID assigned to this user. Now let's set password. Navigate to credentials tab, click set password, enter the password, turn this temporary toggle to off and click save. Now I will assign a role to this user. Go to role mapping, then click assign role. Here we have 2 options: realm roles and client roles. Realm roles are global across our entire realm. They are shared roles that work across multiple applications. For example, if you have a front-end app, a back-end app, and microservice, they can all share the same admin or user role. On the other hand, client roles are specific to one application. They provide application-specific permission. In our case, our Spring Boot application is a single client with its own roles. So, client roles gives us better fine-grained control. This user, Alice, will have the user role, the role we have created earlier. Here it is. This is the role that we have created for our demo app client. Assign this. Perfect. The user role is now assigned to Alice. Now let's create another user. Go back to the user management page and click add user. This time the username will be Bob. Email is bob@demo.com. First name Bob. Then the last name Jones. Click create. Now let's set the password for Bob. Navigate to credentials. Click set password. Enter a password. Turn temporary off and save. For role mapping, I will assign Bob the admin role. Click assign role. Then I am going to assign the admin role. This admin role belongs to the demo app client. Assign. Great. Bob now has the admin role. Now I will add one last user for manager. Back to the user management page. Here it's showing a warning sign telling us that Bob's email is not verified. Okay, let's edit Bob and set this email verified to on and save. Go back to the user management. See, this warning sign is gone. Okay, now I will add another user. This user will be our manager. Name is Carol. Email carol@demo.com. First name is Carol. Then the last name, it's Wilson. And create. Now set this user a password. So set password, set temporary to off and save. One thing I forgot. Go back to details and make this email verified to on and save. Now set the role for this user. Role mapping, assign role, then client roles. This user will be our manager. This one from our demo app client. Choose and assign. That's it. Our 3 users are now created. create a new Spring Boot project, head over to start.spring.io. From here, select Maven as the project. Then language is Java, and for the Spring Boot version, at the time of this recording, the latest Spring Boot version is 3.5.7. So I am going to select that. Now let's provide the project metadata. For the group name, it's my domain name in reverse order. That is com.learnwithiftekhar. Then give it an artifact name. I'm going to name it OAuth2-demo. Then for packaging, choose jar, and for Java, my install Java version is 21. So I am going to select that. And for Spring Boot 3, you need to have Java version 17 or higher. So Java 21 is good to go. Now it's time to add the necessary dependencies. The first dependency I am going to add is Spring Web. Then I will add Timeleaf for rendering HTML pages. And also I need to add the OAuth2 client dependency. And these are all the dependencies that we need right now. Now click on this generate button. So our project is generated and downloaded as a zip file. Go ahead and open it in your favorite IDE. Here, I have opened the project in IntelliJ IDEA. On the left side bar, you see the files and folders of the project. Let's open the pom.xml file. Here, see the group ID that we have defined while creating this application. Then this is our artifact ID. And also, let me scroll down a little bit. Here is the Java version that we have defined. And here inside these dependencies tag, we have necessary dependencies defined. This one is for the OAuth2 client. Then we have Timeleaf and also have dependency for Spring Web. Now let's try to start the project. So our project started at port 8080. Let's try to access this in the browser. The URL of our application is localhost, then 8080. See, our project is running and it's redirected us to the default login page provided by Spring Security. Here, one thing, we did not include any Spring Security dependency. So, how is this login page showing up? Let me show you in our pom.xml file. As you can see, we don't have Spring Security dependency listed here. Yes, we have this dependency, Spring Security 6, but that is for Timeleaf, not Spring Security dependency. So, where is this login page coming from? The secret lies in this OAuth2 client dependency. Let's check what's defined in the pom.xml of this OAuth2 client. If you are using Mac, hold Command and click on this dependency. If you are on Windows, use Ctrl and click. This opens the source pom.xml file of the Spring Boot Starter OAuth2 client. Let's scroll down through the list of dependencies. And here we have this Spring Security code dependency. So, by including this OAuth2 client dependency from the Spring Boot Starter package, we automatically get the Spring Security as well. That's why we are seeing this login form. Just by adding OAuth2 client, our application is automatically secured. Now, let's configure our Spring Boot application to use OAuth2 and Keycloak for authentication. I will provide the necessary configuration in our application.properties file. First, I am going to rename this application.properties file. I will change it to application.yml. YML is just my personal preference. I find it more readable than properties file. But if you prefer to stick with application.properties, that's also perfectly fine. Let me delete this existing content. Now, for connecting with Keycloak, we need to provide some configuration. Start with Spring, then Security, then OAuth2 and Client. Under Client, we need registration. Now, we need to provide a registration ID. This can be any name you choose, but make sure to follow standard convention. Do not use any space. I am going to use Keycloak. Under this registration, we need to specify the client ID. So, how we can get this? Let's go back to our Keycloak dashboard, localhost 8090, and sign in as administrator. We are currently in this master realm, but we need to switch to our demo realm. Go to manage realm, then demo realm. Now navigate to clients. Here is our demo app client. Let's open it. The client ID is this one, demo app. Let's copy this. Back to the ID, paste this client ID. Next, we need client secret. We can get this from the Keycloak dashboard as well. Go to credentials tab of our client, and here is the client secret. Copy it and paste it into our application.yml file. After that, we need to provide the scope. I will add OpenID, profile and email. Then we need the authorization grant type. This is authorization underscore code. Now we need to provide redirect URI. The redirect URI in Spring Boot OAuth2 configuration is the specific URI in your application where this OAuth2 provider, in our case Keycloak, will send user back after they successfully authenticate. The redirect URI will be http:// then localhost 8080 then login OAuth2 /code/Keycloak. Now let me break it down. At the first portion, HTTP and localhost with port, this is the address where our application is running. After that, we add login /OAuth2 /code. This will be same for any OAuth2 authentication. And finally, the registration ID, which is Keycloak in our case. Now we need to add the provider information. Make sure the indentation is correct. Provider should be the same level as registration. Indentation is crucial in YML files. Otherwise, the configuration won't work. Now let's configure the provider. In our case, Keycloak is our OAuth2 provider. Here in the registration section above, we specified Keycloak as our registration ID. Now we need to provide additional details about this provider, such as the issuer URI and the username attribute for extracting the usernames from token claims. First, let's get the issuer URI. Now to get the issuer URI, let's go back to Keycloak, navigate to realm settings and scroll down. Here we have this link, OpenID endpoint configuration. Click on this. Here we have these JSON where many configuration related to OAuth2 are defined. This one is the issuer and we need this URL. Copy this back to the IDE, paste it as the issuer URI. To extract the authenticated user's name from the token claims, I will add the user-name-attribute. In Keycloak, this is typically set to preferred_username. And that's it. Now let's start the project. Perfect. Our project has started. Let's try to access our endpoint at localhost 8080. And here we are redirected to the Keycloak login page. And here we can log in into our system using the users that we defined. One of the users was Alice. Give her password and sign in. See, we have successfully signed in, but we are getting this white label error page and it's showing that the status code is 404. That is because we have not defined any controller and view to process this root URL. So we'll do that shortly. Now, let me explain an important aspect of our authentication flow. Currently, when we try to access our application at localhost 8080, we are immediately redirected to the Keycloak login page. After successful authentication, Keycloak redirects us back to our application. However, before we configure the controller to handle requests to our root URL, I want to customize this login flow. Instead of redirecting directly to the Keycloak login page, I would like to create an intermediate login page within our Spring Boot application itself. This page will display a login button, and only when the user clicks that button, they will be redirected to the Keycloak for authentication. Why do I want this? Well, this approach provides flexibility for the future. If we later decide to introduce additional authentication methods such as email and password-based login, we can easily add those options to our custom login page. This gives us a centralized entry point for all authentication methods, making our application more extensible and user-friendly. To do that, I'll configure Spring Security's default configuration. Inside this main Java, this is our root package. Here, I am going to create a new package. Name this config. Inside this config, I will create a new Java class and name it security config. Now, here we need to add annotation, configuration, and also I will add another annotation, enable web security. With that, Spring can now understand this security config will contain configurations. Here inside this class, I will provide our Spring security customization. The first one, I'll need a bin of security filter chain. Name this security filter chain. It accepts HTTP security and throws exception. Here inside this method, HTTP, then .authorize request, provide our customizer, and here provide a lambda expression auth, then auth.request matchers, and provide the endpoints. First one is login and the second one error. Then .permit all. These permits all access to the login page and error page. And then any request .authenticated. This means any other request needs to be authenticated. After that, I will add OAuth2 login. Here, I will provide a customizer using a lambda expression. OAuth2 arrow OAuth2 dot login page. And here provide the endpoint of our login page. That is login. Basically, we are telling Spring to show our custom login page. And then default success URL. And that is home. This is for sending the user to the home page after successful login. And finally, return http.build. So, we have configured Spring Security's default behavior. Now, let's start the project. Try to access our application using localhost, and it's now showing this white label error. That is because we have not created any controller to process this login endpoint. Let's do it now. So inside our root package, I'm going to create a new package. Name this controller. Inside this controller, I'm going to create a new Java class. Name this login controller and annotate this class with controller. And now provide the mapping. For login endpoint, it will be get mapping. The endpoint will be /login. Public method returns string name login. And in the return statement, provide the name of the HTML page that will be rendered when this URL is accessed. It will be login. Now we need to create this login.html page. Inside resources, we will have another subdirectory templates. Inside templates, I am going to create a new HTML file. Name this login.html. So in this login page, we need to add the TimeLeaf namespace at the top of our HTML. This will allow us to use TimeLeaf attribute and expressions throughout this page. You will see why this is important when we build homepage later, where we'll need to display dynamic user information from our backend. It will be XML NS, then TH, and then equals, and the value will be HTTP www.timeleaf.org. Now let's change the title. It will be login. Here, this page will contain our login elements. Inside this body, let's add h1 tag for our title. This is OAuth2 demo. And after that, give it a small helping text. Sign in to continue. Below that, we'll have our login button using an anchor tag. The URL will be /OAuth2/authorization and then registration ID, which is Keycloak. Make sure this registration ID in this link match the registration ID that we have defined in our application.yml file. Let me show you. Let me open the application.yml file. Here you see, this was our registration ID defined under this registration section. So this value in the login page link should match with this registration ID. And here give it a text, sign in with Keycloak. And below that, add a paragraph with some helper text. Let's say you will be redirected to Keycloak to authenticate. And now start the project. Back to the browser. This was our application URL. Let me refresh. Here you see, we have this login page showing. Instead of redirecting to Keycloak directly, it's now showing our custom login page. And here, this page is looking a little bit ugly. And I would like to add some styling. Since our tutorial is mainly focused on OAuth2 login with Keycloak, I don't want to spend too much time on styling. But let's add a little bit of styling to make it look better. For styling, I'm going to use Tailwind CSS. So let's open a new tab and search for Tailwind CSS. Here it is. Let's open this site and then click on Get Started. Here we have various options to install Tailwind. I am going to use the CDN approach. So click on Play CDN. And here we need to copy this script tag. Let's copy it and go back to our login page. After the title, paste that script. Now let's add some styling. Let's add some classes to this login form so it looks more beautiful. For the body, I am going to give it a class. Let me make the body a light gray background. Give it a minimum height of full screen. Then flex. Keep items centered. Also, justify content to center. And add a padding of 4. Inside the body, I am adding a wrapper div. Here, I will add a class. Make it full width and also add a maximum width of just small. Inside this, here we will have our heading. I will put the heading inside a separate div. Add some classes. Text center. Provide a bottom margin of 6. Inside this heading div, let me move these two elements, the h1 and the p tag. For the h1, I will add some styling. Make the text larger, font bold, and text gray 900. For the p tag, add another class. Make the text color light gray. Make the text small and give it a top margin. After this heading section, we will have our login button. Let's move this anchor tag inside the wrapper. Let's cut this and paste it here. For this link, I am going to add some styling. Give it a class. Make it block, full width, background color indigo, text white, then text center. Give it vertical padding of 3. Make the corners rounded, font size medium, and when hovering, I will darken the background color. Now let's style the p tag below. Add class, margin top of 4. Make the text extra small, text center, and make the text color gray. Okay, that's all. Now let's restart the project. So our project is started. Back to our browser. Let me refresh. Now you see we have this beautiful login page. Here I made a typo in this button text. Let's fix that. This was a typo. It should say sign in with Keycloak. Okay, now restart. Back to the browser. Refresh. Perfect. Now we have this beautiful login form. Now let's click on this sign in with Keycloak. See, we have successfully logged in through Keycloak and redirect to the home page. Now let's handle this home endpoint to display the logged in user's information. Back to the IDE. Here inside the controller package, create a new Java class, name it home controller. Annotate this with controller. Inside this class, add get mapping. It will be for home, public method, and returns string. Name it home and returns the name of the HTML, that is home. After successful login, I want to show the logged in user's information. After login, the logged in user's information is stored in Spring Security's security context. To access these, we can inject the authentication principal using the authentication principal annotation. So, add this parameter to this method, authentication principal. It will be type OIDC user and name this principal. To pass this data to the TimeLeaf HTML page, we need a model. Add another parameter, model. Make sure it's from org.springframework.ui. Let's move this to new line. Inside this method, let's add the user information to the model so we can display it on the page. Add model.add attribute. It will be for username. We can get the username using principal.getPreferredUsername. I will also add the email, model.add attribute. The attribute name is email. We can get it using principal.getEmail. Then I would like to add the full name, model.add attribute. I will name this property name and we can get this using principal.getFullName. And final attribute is roles. Model.add attribute, name these roles and it will be principal.getAuthorities. And the return statement, return home. Now let's create our home HTML file. Inside the template directory, create a new HTML file, name it home. Now in this home.html, let's add the TimeLeaf namespace in the HTML tag. Let's copy this from login.html. It will save us some time. Copy this namespace declaration back to home.html and paste it. Now let's add the Tailwind CSS link. Back to login.html. We need to copy this script tag from the head section. Copy it back to the home.html and paste it inside the head tag. Change the title to login. Great. Now, let's add some content and styling together. First, let's add a class to the body. Give it a light gray background using BG gray 50, a minimum height of full screen, min -h -screen, and add padding of 4. Now inside body, create a div, give it a class. To center it, provide max width to 3XL and MX auto. It will center the div. Inside this div, I will add header, give it a div, add a class, make background white, rounded LG, add shadow, then padding of 6 and margin bottom of 1. Inside this, we'll have our heading, add an H1 tag with the text welcome. Now, after this welcome text, I want to display the authenticated user's full name. For that, add a span tag. Here, we can display the name that we received as a model attribute. To do this, use the TimeLeaf attribute, th text. Then, to access the attribute, provide a $sign and curly braces. Inside the curly braces, give the name of the model attribute, its name. Great. Now, let's add some styling to this H1. Add a class, make the text 2XL, text center, font bold, text color dark gray, text gray 900, and add bottom margin of 1. Below this, I am going to display some additional details of the user. For that, let's create a table, give it a class, make it full width, then table auto, and add border collapse and make the text small. Now add a table row. Inside this table row, add a th element. This will be for username. Let's add some styling. Give it a class, add a bottom border, text align to left, border color is gray 100, and padding of 4, and make the font weight medium. Then add a td element. This will display the username using th, text, then $sign, curly braces, username. Give it a class. The style will be similar to the th, so let's copy the styles from above and paste them here. Now let's move this font medium and add text color, text gray 500. So this is for our username. We also have other properties like email and roles. So let's copy this entire tr block and paste it 2 more times. Now the second row is for email and update the text to email. The next one is for roles. Update the text to role. At the end, let's add a logout button. For logout, it needs to be a form. Provide an action using th action. It will be add, then curly braces, then /logout. Here, the add sign with curly braces is the TimeLeaf syntax for URL expressions. It automatically generates the correct URL for our application. Set the method to post. Inside the form, we'll have a button. Type submit with the text logout. Let's add some styling. Give it a class, full width with W full, red background with BG red 600, white text, PY 3, rounded corners, font medium, and when hovering, darken the background color, BG red 700. That's it. Now let's start the project. So our project has started. Back to the browser. Refresh. We are on this login page. Click the button to sign in with Keycloak. Perfect. We are now logged in and redirected to the home page. Here is the information of the logged in user. We can see the username, email, and role displayed in this table. Now let's log out and try to log in with a different user. Good. We are now logged out and back to our login page. Now let's click on sign in with Keycloak to log in again. Here we have a problem. See, it's redirecting me directly to home. It's not taking me to the Keycloak login page. So, do you have any idea why it's skipping the authentication step? This is actually expected behavior, and it's important to understand what's happening here. Let me show you. We are actually dealing with two separate sessions here. On the one side, we have our Spring Boot application with its own session. On the other side, we have Keycloak with its own session stored in the browser. So when we click Logout, we destroyed our application session. That's why our app correctly sent us to the login page. But we are still logged in into Keycloak in our browser. Keycloak uses this own cookie to remember us. So when our app redirects to Keycloak, Keycloak checks and sees that this user is already authenticated. It skips the login from entirely and immediately sends us back to the application as a logged in user. There is a way to clear both sessions properly. We need to send logout request to Keycloak from our Spring Boot app. Let me show you how to implement this. Now, let's open security config. Here, inside this class, I'm going to inject client registration repository. So, add a private field, final, client registration repository, and name this client registration repository. Now, generate the constructor. Select this client registration repository and click OK. Now, inside our security filter chain, declare a variable. The variable type will be OIDC client initiated logout success handler. Yeah, it's a very long name. And name this handler, and this equals new OIDC client logout success handler, and pass our client registration repository that we have injected. Now we need to set the post logout redirect URI. So type handler dot set post logout redirect URI, and here provide double quote, then curly braces inside base URL. This placeholder will automatically replaced by Spring Boot with the actual base URL. And this tells Keycloak where to redirect users after they log out. Now, after this OAuth2 login, we need to provide .logout. Here, provide the lambda expression, logout, arrow, then logout dot logout success handler, and provide our handler as the parameter. That's it. Now, let's start the project. So, our project is started. Let's check the application in the browser. Go to login page and click sign in with Keycloak. Perfect. Now, we are logged in as Alice. Now, let's click the logout button. See, we are back to the login page. Now, let's click sign in with Keycloak again. Excellent. This time, we are taken to Keycloak login page. The logout is working properly. Both the Spring Boot session and Keycloak sessions are cleared. Now, we can log in as a different user. Let me log in as Bob this time and sign in. Great. We are now logged in as Bob, and you can see Bob's information displayed on the home page. The OIDC logout is working perfectly. Now, let's add a couple of links in this home page. These links and pages will be visible based to user's role. So, back to the IDE. Now, opening home.html. Here, this was our table. So, below the table, I will add 3 links. The first one will point to the page that accessible only by user with the user role. Add an anchor tag. Use th href with the @ and curly braces /user. This is Thymeleaf syntax for URL expression to generate the correct URL. Now let's stylize this anchor tag. Give it a class. I want a little bit of top margin. So add empty 6. Make it block. Give it a background color. BG gray 50. Give it a border and provide a border color. For the user role, it will be border gray 200. Make it rounded and P3 for padding. When hovering, at hover, this will be PG gray 100 and add border style when hovered, border gray 400. Also add transition for smooth effects. Inside this anchor tag, let's add a div with the text user dashboard and add some styling. Make the font semi-bold and text gray 900. Add another div with the text only user access. Now let's stylize this div text SM and text gray 600. Now next I will create a link that will be only accessible by the manager. So let's copy this anchor tag and paste it below. The URL will be /manager, and for the class let's reduce the top margin to 2 and the background will be, for manager the background will be blue. So replace this BG gray with BG blue, and also we need to update the border color to border blue 200. And when hover, the background will be BG blue 100 and border will be BG blue 400. Now update this text to manager dashboard, and this one will be only manager access. So it's for manager. Next one is for our admin user. So again paste the content and update the URL to admin. Here reduce top margin to 2 and also add a bottom margin of 2 MB2. And for admin, the background color will be BG red 50 and border will also red. And when hover, the background will be BG red 100 and border will be BG red 400. And change this text to admin dashboard and only admin access. Okay. Now we need to map these 3 links in our controller. I will put all this mapping inside our home controller. So open our home controller. Here after this home method, add a new get mapping. It will be for user. Public method returns string, name this user, and it returns the name of the HTML file that it will render, that is user. After that, our next get mapping, it will be for manager. Public method string manager, and it returns the name of the HTML, which is manager. And we have another final get mapping. This will be for admin. Public method string admin and returns admin. So we have added 3 mapping, and now we need to create these 3 HTML page for user, manager and admin. So first start with user. Inside template directory, create a new HTML file. Name this user. Here I will replace this structure with the content of our home.html. So open home.html, copy all and back to user.html and replace this. Okay. Now here I will do some modifications. Let's change the title to user. And here Here I will not show this table, this user information table. Let's remove it. I am removing all of these links also. And here at H2 and the text, what you can do. Let's stylize this heading. Class, make this font bold, text gray 900, add a bottom margin of 2 and top margin 2. And after that, add a list UL, give it some style, make it list disk, then list inside, change the text color to text gray 700, then text SM for smaller text and space Y1. And here, let's say this user, the user with the user role, can access user dashboard. Let's duplicate this line. Another permission with the user with user role, that is view profile information. Duplicate this one more time. This one will be basic application features. So this is the information about what this user can do. Obviously, this is just a dummy information to show you the difference. Now, here, let's remove this form. Instead, here I'll add a link to go to home page. So add a div. Inside this div, add anchor tag and link to home page using add curly braces /home and text is home. Now let's add some style to this anchor tag. Add class flex-1, add a background BG indigo 600, text white, text center, adding vertical padding of 2, rounded corner, when hover, darken the background to BG indigo 700. Let's move this to multiple lines so it's more readable. Move this also. Now let's add some style to this div. Make it flex, add gap of 3, margin top of 6. So here, before this heading, let's add a badge. I'll say it's success badge. So add a div, give it some styling, give it light green background using BG green 50. Add border. Border color is green 200. Make this rounded. Add padding of 3. Add bottom margin of 6. Inside this, add a p tag. Make the text color of this paragraph to dark green. Make this text small. And at the text, you have user role access. Great. Now I'll create the HTML for manager. So let's copy this whole content of this user.html because the structure of the HTML that will be rendered for manager is similar to this user. Inside templates, create another HTML file. Name this manager. And let's remove this and paste this copied content. Here, I'll update the title to manager. Actually, let's also update the title of user.html to user dashboard. Back to manager.html. It will be manager dashboard. And for the success badge for manager, it will be you have manager role access. And here, let's update the list of permission that the manager can do. Let's say the manager can view team report and manage projects, access manager only data. And also let's add another list item and it will be team oversight. Now let's copy all of these and create a new HTML page inside template directory. This will be admin and replace this with the copied content. Change the title to admin dashboard. Then the success page will be you have admin role access. And what this admin can do is admin can manage the system settings, view all user data. Admin can access admin only endpoints and also perform administrative tasks. Perfect. Now let's start the project and check if everything works. Back to the browser, refresh the page. So we are back to the login page. Let's log in. We need to provide our credentials. Let's log in as Bob, provide his password, sign in. Great. We can see our three links on home page: user dashboard, manager, and admin dashboard. Let's click on user dashboard. Perfect. We are on the user dashboard page. Let's go back and click on manager dashboard. Great. This is displaying manager dashboard HTML page. And here is the list of permission this manager can do. And now let's try admin dashboard. Excellent. All three pages are accessible. However, there's a problem here. We are currently logged in as a Bob, and Bob has the admin role, but we can access all those three pages: the user page, the manager page, and the admin page. These should not happen. Bob should only be able to access the admin dashboard, not the user or manager pages. In the next step, we'll implement role-based access control to restrict these pages based on user roles. Now, let's open our security config class. In our security filter chain method, here we have these request matchers where we have permitted all access to this login and error. After that, I will add specific role-based permission to our endpoints. So type dot request matchers, then this will be for user, so /user. This endpoint will only be accessible to users who have the user role dot has role, and this will be user. Next, let's add another condition, request matchers, and it will be for manager, then dot has role, and the role should be manager. This endpoint will only be accessible to users with the manager role. And the final one, dot request matchers, this will be /admin at the condition dot has role admin. The user must have the admin role to access this endpoint. Now let's restart the project. Back to the browser. Let's refresh. Here we need to log in. Click on sign in with Keycloak. Let me log in as Bob. Okay, we are on the home page. Here these three dashboard links are visible. Let's try to access the user dashboard. See, we have this 403 forbidden. That's because Bob does not have access to the user page. Let's go back and try to access the manager dashboard. It also forbidden. Bob does not have permission to access the manager dashboard either. Now let's try to access the admin dashboard. And this is also not accessible by Bob. But Bob has the admin role assigned. Why this is happening? Let me check. Back to our home page. Here we can see the role assigned to Bob. It shows OIDC user, then scope email, OpenID, and profile. But if you can remember, we assigned admin role. Let me show you from Keycloak dashboard. Here, this was our Keycloak. We need to log in as admin. Here, change the realm. So manage realm, then demo realm. Now go to the user. Here is Bob. Navigate to role mapping. See, we have assigned the admin role to this user for the demo app client. So in our client, here we are not getting that role. Why? Something is not right with how the roles are being mapped. Let's investigate this. Let's open home controller. In this home controller, we have this home method, and here we have injected this authentication principal, named it principal. Now in this statement, we are getting the roles from this principal, but we are missing the role that we have assigned to the user in Keycloak. So how can we get that role? Whenever we successfully authenticate with Keycloak, Keycloak issues an ID token and an access token. Spring Boot gets the role information from the access token. So let's check what we are getting in the access token and understand how we can extract the assigned role from it. To get the access token here, we need to add another parameter, that is provide the annotation. It will be registered or OAuth2 authorized client. And here we need to provide the registration ID, that is Keycloak. This is the registration ID that we assigned in our application YML file. Let me show you. Here inside this application.yml, see, this is the registration ID we have assigned. Okay, so the type of this parameter will be OAuth2 authorized client and name this auth client. Now here, before this return statement, let's print the access token in the console so that we can see what's inside. We can get the access token using auth client dot get access token dot get token value. Now let's restart the project. Back to the browser. Here we are on the home page. Let's refresh. We need to sign with Keycloak, so click this button. Here we are signed in as Bob. Now check the console. Here in the console, you see this access token is printed. Let's copy this. I will decode it and see what's inside the payload. Now in the browser, open a new tab. Go to jwt.io. Here in this field, let's remove this old token and paste our copied token. Here you see this is the decoded payload. In this payload, we have this scope property, and here we have this OpenID, profile, and email. This is the property that Spring uses as authorities by default and add a prefix of scope underscore. See on our homepage, here the authorities match exactly. Scope OpenID, then we have this scope profile and this scope email. But where is our admin role that we have assigned? Well, it's here. Inside this resource access claim, we have a JSON object called demo-app, which is basically the client ID. Inside this, we have a JSON array of roles, and here we have this assigned role. So we need to extract this role and add it to the existing authorities. How we can do that? Well, it's pretty simple. Let's do it. Back to the ID. Let's remove this print statement because I don't want to log security sensitive information in the console. Let's also remove this parameter. Now in the root package, create a new package, name this service. Inside this service package, create a new Java class, name it custom OIDC user service. This custom OIDC user service extends OIDC user service. Here we need to annotate this class with service. Now what we'll do inside this class is extract the access token, then from that token get the resource access claims and extract the roles from these claims and add them to our granted authority so that we can implement role-based access control. Here I will override a method of this OIDC user service class, generate, then override methods. I will override this load user method. Select it and click OK. Here, see this statement. This is calling the parents class load user method to get the OIDC user. Instead of returning this directly from here, I will store it into a new variable and name this default user. Now here what I will do is first I will get the access token, and from the token we will extract the roles. So let's get the access token. Type string access token, this equals, and we can get this access token from the user request that we are getting as the parameter of this load user method. So user request dot get access token, then dot get token value. Now from this access token, let's extract the roles, create a new variable, set of granted authority, Name this Keycloak roles. Here, I will create another method where I will implement the logic to extract the roles from this access token. Let's say the name of this method is extract Keycloak roles and pass our access token. Let's create this method. Actually, we are extracting the roles here. So let's move this comment before this statement. Now inside this extract Keycloak roles method, here first I need to decode this access token. To decode this, we need a JWT decoder. Let's create a bean for this decoder. Inside the config package, create a new Java class, name this app config. Annotate this with configuration. Inside this app config, define a bean, public, JWT decoder, name this JWT decoder, and return JWT decoders dot form issuer location. Here we need to provide the issuer URI. If you remember from application YML, this one is our issuer URI. We need to provide this property name. So let's copy the full property path on my Mac. To copy this property, the shortcut is Command plus Option plus Shift plus C. Back to app config class. At the top, let's create a private field, string issuer, and here provide annotation value. Inside this, I will provide the property name, double quote, $, then curly braces, and paste the property name. And pass this issuer URI as the parameter of issuer URL location. So that's our JWT decoder. Now go back to our custom OIDC user service. Here inside this extract Keycloak rules method, we'll decode this access token. To decode it, we need to inject this JWT decoder. So at the top, add a private field, final JWT decoder. Name this JWT decoder. Now let's create a constructor to inject this. Generate, then constructor, select JWT decoder and click OK. Now inside this extract Keycloak rules method, we'll decode the access token JWT decoder dot decode access token and store it into the variable JWT. Let's import this class. Make sure this JWT is imported from org Spring Framework Security OAuth2 JWT package. Okay. Now, first I will extract the resource access claims from this token. Create a map. The type is string for the key and object for the value. Name it resource access. And this equals JWT.getClaim. Here, put the name of the claim. Let's check it from the payload. We need this one. So copy this and provide it here. Now let's check if this resource access is null. In that case, we'll return an empty set. So return collections.empty set. If this resource access exists, then from this object, we need to extract demo app. This demo app is basically the client ID of our application. So here, let's create a variable at the top, private string client ID. We can get this client ID from our application YML. Here we have this client ID under the property Spring Security OAuth2 client registration Keycloak. We need to provide the full property path. So we can copy this fully qualified property name using Command, Option, Shift and C. So here at the top of the client ID field, add value annotation, double quote, then $, curly brackets, and paste the value of client ID property name. Now back to the extract Keycloak rules method. From this resource access, we'll extract a JSON with the property name same as the client ID. So create another map, type is string for the key and object for the value. Name this client resource and this equals resource access dot get and provide our client ID. Here we need to cast this with map. Now check if this client resource is null. In that case, return the empty set. Let's copy this return statement and paste it here. If this client resource exists, then we'll extract the roles from it. So it will be a list of string and roles equaled client resource dot get, then the property name role. Now let's add a if statement. If this roles is null or if the list is empty, in that case, return an empty set. Finally, the return statement. In this return statement, we need to transform this list of role strings into Spring Security's granted authority object. So here, what we'll do, roles.stream. This will convert our list into stream so we can process each role one by one. Then .map, and inside the map, provide a lambda expression. Role arrow. Here, I will create a new simple granted authority. For the granted authority, Spring Security has a convention. Every role must have a prefix of role underscore followed by the role name. So I'll provide role underscore, then concate with role and make it uppercase. This uppercase ensures consistency, converting our roles to uppercase format. And finally, collect all the transformed granted authority object into a set. Great. Our extract Keycloak roles method is complete. Here, we need to cast this variable. So, our extract Keycloak roles is complete. Back to our load user method. Here, beside these Keycloak roles, I also want to include the default authorities that we are getting from the token. So, what I will do is merge them together. Type Keycloak roles dot add all. Then we can get the default authorities using default user dot get authorities. By these, we are adding the existing default authorities like scope OpenID, scope profile or scope email to our Keycloak role set. Finally, we'll return a new default OIDC user. Here, this default OIDC user has many overloaded constructors. We are going to use this one. Here, we need to pass authorities, then the ID token and the user info. So, provide the Keycloak roles, then the ID token, default user dot get ID token, and default user dot get user info. That's it. Now we need to inject this custom OIDC user service into our security config. Let's open our security config class. Here, let's inject our custom OIDC user service. So private final custom OIDC user service. Name this OIDC user service. I would like to add this to constructor parameter. Now, in our security filter chain, here in this OAuth2 login, in this lambda expression, after this default success URL, add another property dot user info endpoint, and here provide a lambda expression user info arrow user info dot OIDC user service, and pass the OIDC user service that we have injected. Perfect. Now let's start the project. Back to the browser. This is our home page. Let's refresh. We need to log in, sign in with Keycloak, provide our username and password. Let's log in as Bob and sign in. See, we have now this role admin available in this role list along with the other roles. Let's try to access the user dashboard. As expected, it's not accessible. It's forbidden. Even the manager dashboard also forbidden. Back to the home page. If we try to access this admin dashboard, see, we are now in the admin dashboard. Perfect. We have the necessary permission. Back to the home page. Let's log out and try to log in with a different user. Now let's try to log in as Alice. Here, the role of Alice is role user. So if we try to access admin dashboard, it's forbidden. And if we try to access user dashboard, see, we can access this. Perfect. Now let's also try with another user. Logout. Now try with Carol. Give the username and password. Sign in. Carol should only have access to manager dashboard. Click on this. See, we can access this dashboard. But if we try to access user dashboard, it's forbidden as expected. Now, here I want to do a small fix. I want these links to be visible based on the user role. That means a user with the manager role should only see the manager dashboard link. The other should not be visible. Okay, let's do this. Open our home.html file. For conditional viewing based on the role, in this HTML tag, beside this time-left namespace, we need to add another namespace. That's for security. So XMLNS :sec for security. This equals http www.timeleaf.org/extras/spring-security. Now let's scroll down. Here is our link. This is for the user. So what I'll do is add sec::authorize, and this equals has roles, and provide the name of the role user. So only if the authenticated user has this user role, then this link will be visible. Let's copy this attribute and do the same for the manager. Paste it. Here the role we are going to check is manager. Now for the admin, paste this and change the role to admin. Perfect. Now start the project. Back to the browser. Refresh. We need to log in. See, we are logged in as Carol, and Carol has the manager role, and only manager dashboard link is available. Let's log out and try to log in as Bob. Sign in and see Bob has this admin role, and only admin dashboard is visible for Bob. And if we try with Alice, Alice has only user dashboard visible. Perfect. And that's it. You now have the full OAuth2 login with Keycloak, custom login page, logout, and role-based dashboard in your Spring Boot application. Play with the code, tweak the roles, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Until then, bye-bye.